Good morning, Drink Less, Feel Fresh family. Tommy Cartwright here, rocking out with you for this week's weekly Monday Feel Fresh and Free podcast series and episode. Welcome. Looking forward to diving into today's conversation and key topic. It's going to be short, it's going to be sharp, and it's going to be straight down the line. Some of you are going to love hearing this because of how simple it is. Some of you are going to think it's not enough. Either way, it can change the game for you when it comes to changing your relationship with alcohol. And we're going to dive straight into it today. So whether you're listening to this live, jump into the chat panel, let me know if you're here, or if you're watching the recording on YouTube or listening to this on Spotify podcast playlist, then please feel free to get back to me at info@drinklessfeelfresh.com and let me know if you like the podcast episode today. Today, we're diving into the number one question that matters when it comes to changing your relationship with alcohol. If you're on an alcohol reduction journey, if you're looking for sobriety, if you're looking to reduce your intake to a level that you love and respect, then it's absolutely paramount that you don't only know the answer to this question, but you act appropriately and accordingly to your answer to the question. Time and time again, I get asked, Tom, what's the number one thing we should look after when it comes to changing our relationship with alcohol? There's so many tips, there's so many tricks, there's so many different approaches to reducing your alcohol intake, from the traditional clinical intervention approaches, from using clinical medication to stop cravings, from AA meetings to rehabilitation clinics, right through the board to more behavioral approaches like we do at Drink Less, Feel Fresh. And you can keep going to so far from the clinical approach, which some people might call spiritual meditation, et cetera. Hey, to the members that are on the podcast, good morning. Today's topic is, as I said, it's short, it's sharp. It'll make a huge difference for you. If you do want to change your relationship with alcohol, then the key is to understand or even clarify the answer to this question. Now, you might be thinking, why does he keep talking about this question? Well, I'm about to give you the question. You're about to hear the question. And you may have heard it before, or it may be new to you when it comes to applying it to your alcohol reduction journey. So why don't we just dive into it? Here's the question. What matters most to you? What matters most to you? And if you're watching this series and taking this podcast series and taking notes, great. If you're listening to it whilst you're training, or you're on the treadmill, or you're driving your car, or you're going for a walk, fantastic. Just ponder this for a moment and see what comes to the surface. What matters most to you? And notice the things that come to the surface for you. What comes up? Do you picture family? Do you picture love? Do you picture a pet? Do you picture your health? Do you picture children? What matters most to you? 9.9 times out of 10, individuals do not think of alcohol. Okay, so the question again for today's topic is, what matters most to you? As I said, there's so many different approaches to changing your relationship with alcohol. This specific podcast episode is about the approach of understanding what matters most to you. It is fundamental and key to long-term alcohol reduction and living with choice and freedom. I'll give you an example. I'll share it in a different way. What we've seen over the past 7 to 8 years in the alcohol reduction industry is that the majority of time, people are over-consuming alcohol because they've simply forgotten what matters most to them. And now some of you might be thinking, wow, this is so true. When I am drinking, I'm not focusing on what matters most. And some of you might be thinking, well, hang on, Tom, to be more than that. There's got to be the addiction side, et cetera, et cetera. Yes and no. I'll actually say it like this. You and I, we all have a moral compass. We all have a guiding set of rules and principles that'll lead us to more choice and more freedom than we ever thought possible. We all have this moral compass. When we're over-consuming alcohol, we're off compass. We're not listening to our internal guidance system. We know we want to feel fresh. We end up drinking anyway. We know we don't want to feel guilt. We end up feeling guilty. We know we want to look after our health, but we break those promises to ourselves, whatever it might be. So we have a moral compass. It is there. Everybody knows it's there because they wish they were doing something, but they're not doing it. So if anyone's listening, they think that's true. I am wanting to drink less or not drink at all, but I'm not doing it. So that actual experience that you're having of, I wish I was doing this, but I'm not doing it, that's a reflection that you have a moral compass. You have a guiding compass inside you that is designed for you to lead you to more levels of choice, freedom, fulfillment, joy, etc., etc. Now, you might be saying, why is Tom teaching us about moral compass? Well, when it comes to clarifying your moral compass, when it comes to learning to listen to your own moral compass, the biggest question, the question that starts your moral compass is what matters most. When someone can articulate and clarify what matters most to them, they're starting to tap into their moral compass. Okay, so that's why this is so important. The question again for today's podcast episode is what matters most to you? The majority of time when we're drinking alcohol, to the extent that we wish we didn't, we have forgotten what matters most, or either A, we've forgotten what matters most, or B, we're not acting appropriately. So if you really, really, really want to start reducing your alcohol intake and sticking to your alcohol reduction goals, then today's episode is about reminding you or asking you to tap into what matters most. And then when you understand that, step 2 is start acting appropriately. If you know what matters most, you must start acting appropriately. This is the part of the conversation where it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter about your past experience. They're all relevant. Okay, I'm not saying forget about them and they don't mean anything. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in this moment, when you clarify what matters most to you, for example, what matters most to you, Tom? Being emotionally available for my children. There's a part of me, that's my answer. There's a part of me that could go, oh, hang on a second, but I've got these bills to attend to. Hang on a second, I've got to get to work. Hang on a second, I've got some past experiences that I need to overcome and heal. I could go down that route for sure. But to really answer the question wholeheartedly, my answer was being emotionally available to my children. So if I want to listen to that internal blueprint and guiding system, then I have to act appropriately regardless of everything else. Please feel free, if you're watching this live, jump into the chat panel. Let me know, is this valuable? Is this right up your alley? And if you're listening to this recording, always feel free to jump into your emails and send me an email at info@drinklessfeelfresh.com and let me know if this is valuable too. It's one of the most valuable approaches you can have when it comes to not only reducing your alcohol intake, but living with choice and freedom. The question to ask yourself is what matters most to me? And the approach to that question is start acting appropriately. And if alcohol is not the thing that matters most to you, we need to start drinking less. We have to start giving it up. Because if we don't, the things that matter most to us will cop the negative repercussions. That's a nice, short, sharp one here from Tommy Cartwright, founder of Drink Less, Feel Fresh. I trust you've absolutely loved this morning's Feel Fresh and Free podcast episode titled What Matters Most to You. You can watch all of the recordings and replays on YouTube at Drink Less, Feel Fresh, or on Spotify, Drink Less, Feel Fresh. But in saying that, if you like rocking out, if you want to kickstart your week feeling fresh AF, if you want to learn to continue to reduce your alcohol intake and even stick to your alcohol reduction goals, head to www.drinklessfeelfresh.com and you can register for free to show up to this podcast series. I can see Isabel, I can see a few other members that are on the call, followers and family members of Drink Less, Feel Fresh. So there is a live audience to this podcast recording, and there always will be at the moment. I think it's fantastic. If you show up live, you can ask me questions, and I will answer them on the spot for you if we have time. Yeah, thanks for all the comments coming through. To those that are live, here's to drinking less and feeling fresh. Here's to reminding ourselves on what matters most, and ultimately, here's to acting appropriately and starting to trust ourselves. Big love. See you next week. Bye.